Good morning. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Welcome.
Shabbat Shalom.
Great to be with you, Cantor.
Thank you.
And
How you doing this morning?
doing just fine. Looking forward to our service. I'm really glad that all of you are out there with us, joined us. I heard we had a great service last night too, in honor of Father's Day, and some great pictures. And we're happy to be with you this morning. And let's begin. We're going to begin with Hine Matov. Some of you have prayer books at home. So if you have a Siddur at home, Hine Matov, page 10.
הנה מה טוב ומנעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומנעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב, שבת אחים גם יחד.
Beautiful. One of the nice things, there are many not so nice things about this pandemic and about live streaming services rather than being together in the synagogue. But one of the nice things about it is it does give us a little bit less formality, and it gives me the opportunity to do a little more teaching. We don't have a nervous bar bat mitzvah sitting on the bima and even more nervous parents. And we don't have quite the amount of time taken up with choreography and all of that. And so we get a chance to be a little less formal, but to do a lot more teaching. And I want to begin with a very brief teaching before we get to page 177, which is a section that begins the service called Nisim B'chol Yom, the miracles of daily life. If you were to ask me, what does it really mean to be a spiritual person? You know, spirituality is a word that I think has been so overused that it's lost its currency, it's lost its meaning. For me, what it means to be a spiritual person is to be a person who recognizes the extraordinary within the ordinary. A person who goes through life with a sense of awe for the miraculous nature of what we often dismiss as purely ordinary things. The simple fact that we woke up this morning and drew breath, that we slept through the night in peace, that we had, I really do think this way. I've been watching a series on Hulu called A French Village, which is a 7-year series that takes you through life in a small French village during the Nazi occupation and the war. And this morning I got up and I had my favorite breakfast, which is toasted rye bread with butter on it. And I literally thought to myself, what a miracle that I can just roll out of bed, brew some coffee, and have some, perfect rye toast with a little butter, when there have been so many times in history, and particularly in the history of the Jewish people, when that literally would have been a miracle. And it's worth remembering that it literally still is. My favorite story that relates to that idea of daily blessings, and I think fits so perfectly with this pandemic that we're living through, which does not seem to be going away anytime soon, It's a story, a legend about King David, that during the time of King David, there was a plague, and the plague was killing 100 people a day. And so the king's advisors recommended a measure for measure response. In other words, they asked the citizenship to count 100 blessings a day, to say 100 blessings a day, to counterbalance the 100 deaths a day from the plague. And according to the legend, once people started pronouncing 100 blessings a day, the plague stopped. Is it historically true? No, but it's a myth. It's a legend to teach us about the importance of counting our blessings, even in the midst of darkness and difficult times. That it has a counteractive effect to the darkness. It brings light to the darkness, and that's why in the morning we recite Nisim B'chol Yom, the blessings for daily life. And so Cantor Lisa is going to lead us now. For those of you with a prayer book at home, we're going to begin on page 177, and our job is pretty easy. We pronounce Amen after the Cantor chants each of the Nisim B'chol Yom. So please lead us.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hama'avir sheina me'enai, u'tnuma me'af apai. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, she'asani b'tselem Elohim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, she'asani bat chori. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, she'asani Yisrael. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, עוזר ישראל בגבורה. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, עוטר ישראל בתפארה. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, אשר קידשנו במצוותיו, וציוונו לעסוק בדברי תורה.
Amen. And now, thank you so much. And now we're going to turn to page 180 for Psalm 150, the last of the 150 Psalms. And I love that the last of the Psalms is about joy and celebration, that we end. Many of the Psalms, frankly, are about pain and suffering. This one is not. This is about praising God. Hallelujah, praise to God. A word that many people think Christians invented. But it's ours. They got it from us. Hallelujah, praise be God. Just a little brief behind the curtain look at the operations of your temple. One of the things that I decided very early on when the pandemic started and we were locked down and people were very, very frightened. It's amazing, isn't it, what you can get used to and how we've gotten used to living with less fear in this circumstance. But go back 3 months and remember the utter terror. And I mandated that all Zoom meetings, all temple Zoom meetings, had to end with a joke. Every meeting had to end with a joke, because I've always felt that laughter is a subconscious decision to survive. It's a subconscious expression of faith in the future, that things are going to be better, that some things are still hilarious and always will be, and that the darkness is not too dark to see. So I end all of our meetings now with a joke. And I think this psalm is sort of the same idea of ending those 150 psalms, not with a joke, but with something that's really joyous and that's about praising God, even when it's difficult. And so Cantor Lisa is going to lead us in Psalm 150. You can find it on page 180. If you don't know it, that's okay. Just join us with the refrain, which is Hallelujah. So let's go.
Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Hallelujah, el de Kosho. Hallelujah, Vipi
Now we're warmed up.
Super warmed up.
Yeah, so let's move to the Baruch Hu, page 195. And for those of you at home who wish to stand, this would be a time to stand in the service. Although if you'd rather not, no one will know. No, the Baruch Hu.
Rabbi Leader, you're muted. See,
That's
constant surprises. We never get used to that.
At least everyone knows it's live. That's a shame because what I said was extraordinarily profound, but that's another matter. Okay, so the Shema. I want to say a word about the Shema. You know, the Torah is always about what's happening in the moment. I find the moment within the Torah and the Torah within the moment. Really, every time I search. I was thinking about the Shema this morning and what I wanted to say. I don't think most people realize that the Shema, at least in my opinion, is the greatest Jewish contribution to human thought, because it expresses the idea, the very profound and deep idea that all is one, that everything is interconnected. Before this concept came into the world, brought to the world by our ancestors through Torah, the common thinking was, much like the earth was flat, that the earth was sustained through conflict between disparate forces. The sun god at war with the moon god, the earth god at war with the sea god, the love god at war with the god of war. And anyone who studied Greek and Roman mythology knows this, that it was about conflict. The crashing together of oppositional forces is what created the energy that sustained life. And along comes Judaism, which says, no, no, no. all of life is animated by a single power, that there's a single organizing force behind all of existence, that all is one. And I was thinking about, well, what in the world does that have to do with today, right now? I think it has an awful lot to do with the two things that are in the forefront of the news right now. One is the fight for equality among human beings. This idea that we all really ought to be one. Again, not the same, but one. The story of creation is not the creation of similar things, but multiple things all animated by the same force. And the second, of course, is the pandemic, which has taught us, I think, in a new way, how interdependent we are on each other, how much our very lives depend on us coming together as one human community to take care of each other. And so this profound Jewish idea brought to the world 3,500 years ago is as powerful today, maybe more so than it was then. And with this hope that we can strive for the essence of the Shema, the essence of oneness, let's now take a breath and prepare for the Shema and the V'ahavta. And whenever the Cantor's ready, she'll lead us.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Vaed. We join together in the chanting of the V'ahavta. V'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha bechol levavcha ubechol nafshecha ubechol meodecha v'hayu advarim ha'ele asher anochi metzavecha hayom al levavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך וקשרתם להות על ידיך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובישעריך למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים אני Adonai Elohechem.
Now we go to the Michamocha, our freedom song. Again, words of Torah. These words come from the oldest Hebrew poem in existence, Shirat Hayam, the Song of the Sea, from the Torah itself. And let's join together in this freedom song. God knows we're all searching and reaching for freedom now in a physical and spiritual way. Mi chamocha.
Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai. Mi chamocha nehedar b'kodesh. Nora tehilot osefele. Shira chadasha shibechu geolim leshimcha al sefata. וקמה בעזרת ישראל, ופדייכין ממך יחודה בישראל, גואלנו אדוני צבאות שמו, קדוש ישראל. ברוך אתה אדוני, גאל ישראל.
Now we move to kind of the centerpiece of our service, the Amidah, the standing prayers, and the first of which is the Avot, and I think it's perfect opportunity just to say a word or two about fathers. Avot actually means fathers. We translate it as ancestors, which is also true because it's talking about Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. But it literally means father, Av and Avot. So I just want to urge all of us to take a moment and appreciate all the fathers out there. It's not easy to be a mother, and it is not easy to be a father. I didn't really learn that until I was a parent myself. Cantor Peicott's a relatively new parent. Have your views of your own parents changed since becoming a parent yourself, Lisa? How do you feel about it?
100%.
In what? And how so? In what ways?
You know, for mothers, there's a whole physical aspect that there was no way to understand until you were a mother yourself, until you were sleep deprived, until you were nursing, and just the constant, I would say, anxiety, just the fear and the anxiety that I just didn't even know existed within my own body, to then have to live your life with that, knowing that you can't control what happens. It's a lesson, you know, all of us need to learn, but especially as a parent, that you have to, you know, right now he's kind of learning how to sit up, and like he really wants to stand. And you just kind of have to at times just let go. And it's kind of, I saw a quote that, becoming a mother and also becoming a father, but more so for a mother because you carry them within your body, that once you're a mother, it's this whole new world of learning to let go.
Yes. Wait till you hand Joey the car keys.
I know.
Yeah. Wait till you drop him off at his dorm freshman year. It was one of the hardest days of my life.
Yeah.
And it is, you know this mystical concept of tzimtzum, of contraction, which is literally a birth phrase, of course, that you have to contract in order to make room for your children to become who they were meant to be. And contracting as a parent, it's difficult. And you never realized how strong, you know, your mother was. I remember when we had our second child, when Hannah was born, I remember saying to my dad, you know, I feel like I have more than twice the responsibility now. Now, my parents had 5 children, and my dad just looked at me and said, I know exactly what you mean. So this is really an opportunity to honor our fathers, particularly as we honored our mothers in May. So I hope everyone will take the chance to do that. I want to say something else about the concept of avot, which is not about fathers, but about ancestors. And I've never really had the opportunity to teach this fully in a service because of the time constraints. So I want to teach you a little something now. There's a concept in Judaism called zchut avot, or if you grew up in the home I grew up in, zchus avos, in real Hebrew, as my father would say. Zchut avot, which I would translate as by the merit of our ancestors. There's this idea that Jews are privileged in a certain way because of zchut avot, because of the merit of our ancestors, because we are the children of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Sarah, Rebecca, Rachel, and Leah. That we're imbued with a certain quality of holiness and good favor as a result simply of being the descendants of such remarkable ancestors. However, we also know that sometimes it feels as if we have no special privilege, we have no special blessing being a part of this Jewish family, but to the contrary, it's sometimes extraordinarily difficult. And we all know historically it's not only been difficult at times, it's been a death sentence. And we also know at times we confront problems that are incredibly difficult to resolve, no matter who our ancestors were, because we have to live in our era, not theirs. We can use their teachings, but we have to figure out certain things on our own. Every generation does. And so when I was preparing for today and digging a little more deeply into the concept of zchut avot, of our rights by merit of our ancestors, I found this amazing phrase in Midrash, which is, "B'makom she'ein zchut," when you are in a place in your life or geographically or historically where there is no merit of your ancestors, where it grants you absolutely nothing, it doesn't help you at all. B'makom she'ein zchut, in a place where there is no merit granted you because of your ancestors, malacha omedet, work, hard work, will stand in place of the merit of your ancestors. And I think this was the rabbi's way of saying, don't count on your lineage, don't count on your history, don't count on your heritage. In certain situations, you have to count on yourself. You have to get busy and you have to get to work. And I will change that slightly to we have to get busy and we have to get to work, because we encounter circumstances where being the children of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Sarah, Rebecca, Rachel, and Leah doesn't mean anything if we don't put our shoulders to the wheel. And it's in that spirit that we're going to enter the Amidah, and the Cantor is going to chant with us and for us the first of the two prayers, the Avot and Gevurot, and then we'll spend some moments in some silent prayer. And I hope that you'll give some thought, either to thoughts of gratitude for your dad, as I will be doing for mine, and or this idea of what did we inherit from our ancestors that we can put to work now, and what must we do on our own, and how can our own hard work stand in the place where there is no advantage given to us because of our ancestry. So let's begin.
Adonai sefatai tiftach ufi agite ilatecha. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu ve'Elohei avoteinu v'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, ve'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, ve'Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor ve'Hanora, El Elyon, גומל חסדים טובים וקונה הכל וזוכר חסדי אבות ואימהות ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם למען שמו באהבה מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן ברוך אתה אדוני מגן אברהם בעזרת שרה אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני מחיי הכל אתה רב להושיע מוריד הטל מחלקל חיים בחסד מחיי הכל ברחמים רבים סומך נופלים ורופא חולים ומתיר אסורים ומקיים אמונתו לישני עפר מי כמוך בעל גבורות ומי דומה לך מלך ממית ומחיה ומצמיח ישוע ונאמן אתה להחיות הכל ברוך אתה אדוני מחיי הכל.
And now we'll spend some time in our own silent prayers and thoughts. Okay.
Now that we've had a moment for silent prayer, at the end of our Amidah, we always offer a prayer of peace. And the interesting thing about Shabbat in our Amidah is that there's a halacha, there's a Jewish law that we're restricted from asking things for God to do on Shabbat. And so this request that comes at the end of our Amidah from Sim Shalom, to put peace, it's not really a request from God or any kind of divine power, but this is really supposed to be a request that comes for ourselves. That just as Rabbi Leader has been talking about, that it's not enough to rest on the laurels of our ancestors, that we have a responsibility to make this world a better place. So these are the words of Sim Shalom, that we may put peace into this world.
Beautiful.
Sim Shalom Tova Uvracha Sim Shalom Tova Uvracha Chen v'chesed v'rachamim Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael Amecha Sim Shalom Tova Uvracha Sim Shalom Tova Uvracha Sim Shalom Tova Uvracha Sim Shalom Tova Uvracha.
So beautiful. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, sometimes I think peace within is even harder to achieve than peace without, right?
For sure.
Yeah. Well, now the crown jewel of our service, the Torah service. And let me just say a word. You know, when a rabbi says, let me just say a word, it's a lot more than a word. But, yeah. The definition of an optimist is the woman who puts her shoes back on when the rabbi says, and in conclusion. So it's going to be more than a few words. So this week's Torah portion is really a Torah portion about the difference between cowardice and bravery. The section that the Cantor is going to chant for us is about Moses sending 12 spies into Canaan, which will become Israel, the promised land, capital P, capital L, to scout it out. And really, this is a military mission. This is wanting to know what we're walking into. And the 12 spies come back, and their report is identical in one way. They all say it's an extraordinarily beautiful land, Eretz Zavat Chalav Udvash, flowing with milk and honey. And it's a land with some fierce people inhabiting it that are going to have to be vanquished or made peace with. The difference in the report, however, is more important than the similarity. 10 of the spies say, we felt like grasshoppers in front of these giant people. And we can't overcome them. And 2 of the spies said, yes, these are giant, fierce people, but ki yachol nuchala, we can overcome them, because this is a promise made to us by God, and we're prepared to fight to make that promise a reality. So 2/12 of the spies are Jewish optimists, and 10/12 of the spies are Jewish pessimists. And I'm going to say more about that after we hear the chanting of Torah. So that's really the essence of the story that we're going to be hearing chanted. The only thing I want to add to that is when the spies give this report, the 10 spies managed to frighten the entire Jewish people into wishing they could even go back to slavery. They're so afraid fighting for their future. And this is the reason the entire generation has to wander in the desert for 40 years and die out, because God comes to the conclusion that you can take the slave out of Egypt, but you can't take the slavery out of the slave. And they think like slaves and they act like slaves, and therefore they're incapable of entering the promised land. In other words, if we're slaves to the past, we'll never enter a promised land. So let's now hear our Torah.
We're going to start with the blessings before. The great thing about these Zoom services is everyone can have an aliyah. There's no limitation. So join with me if you're at home. Baruchu et Adonai hamevorach. Baruch Adonai hamevorach leolam va'ed. Baruch ata Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Asher bachar banu mikol hamim v'natan lanu et torato. Baruch ata Adonai noten haTorah. Vayesapru lo vayomeru banu el haaretz asher shalachtanu v'gam zavat chalav udvash hi v'ze pirya efes ki az ha'am hayoshev ba'aretz והערים בצורות גדולות מאוד, וגם ילידי הענק ראינו שם. עמלק יושב בארץ הנגב, והחיתי והיבוסי והאמורי יושב בהר, והכנעני יושב על הים ועל יד הירדן. ויעש כלב את העם אל משה ויאמר עלה נעלה וירשנו אותה כי יכולנו חלה. והאנשים אשר עלו עמו אמרו לא נוכל לעלות אל העם כי חזק הוא ממנו. ויוציאו דיבת הארץ אשר תרו אותה אל בני ישראל לאמור הארץ אשר עברנו לתור אותה ארץ אוכלת יושביה היא וכל העם אשר ראינו בתוכה אנשי מידות ושם ראינו את הנפלים בני ענק מן הפילים ונהי ועינינו כחגבים וכן היינו בעיניהם. And now we'll all join together in the blessing after the reading of the Torah. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu torat emet v'chayei olam nata betochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Beautiful. For my Dvar Torah, my little sermon today, I just want to tell you a story about a woman that died several years ago, but I was lucky enough to know her from my earliest days in Los Angeles. And her story is an amazing story, and I'm sharing it with you because I think it's a very important example of the different thinking of the two spies, Joshua and Caleb, who were did not feel like grasshoppers themselves in front of these giants. They didn't dispute that these were giant people, but they didn't think of themselves as small. This is a story about a woman named Sylvia Orzoff, and you probably don't know her name. She died probably 10 years ago. I was 26 years old when I was first hired to work for Wilshire Boulevard Temple. And I think I turned 27 about 4 or 5 weeks before I started my first day of work in July 15, 1987. And of course, you know, Betsy and I were sort of Midwesterners fresh off the farm coming to this very sophisticated place called Los Angeles, with more Jews in 5 square blocks than I grew up with in all of Minnesota. That's probably not an exaggeration. And of course, we started visiting the iconic places in Los Angeles, including Cantor's Deli, which, you know, was along with Nate and Al's the place to be in the late 80s. And so we would go to Cantor's a lot. And then I started, once we moved to the Hollywood Hills, taking Fairfax to work many mornings, and would, you know, often stop there for breakfast on my way to work. And Sylvia Orzoff was a waitress at Cantor's who, when she wasn't waitressing, stood out in front of Cantor's with a blue JNF, Jewish National Fund, tzedakah box, a pushki. And she stood out there for more than 20 years, almost every day. And she would, by the way, she was 4'11". She was a tiny little thing. And she would chase after people on the sidewalk with her pushki, saying, how about a quarter? How about a nickel? How about a dime? You need to get your wallet? I can wait. How about a couple dollars? And she worked that sidewalk in front of Cantor's day after day after day, after week, after month, after decade. And she raised $2.5 million for JNF in nickels, dimes, and quarters. Now, I don't think the $2.5 million is the most extraordinary part of the story. I think it's the nickels, dimes, and quarters that's the most extraordinary part of the story. She never set out to go out and raise $2.5 million for JNF. She set out to raise nickels, dimes, and quarters from as many people as she could for as long as she could. And this is the way to slay a giant. This is the way to attack a massive problem. Those 10 spies were paralyzed by the enormity of the challenge in front of them. And Joshua and Caleb were not. They were willing to just take one step forward at a time and vanquish these giants. We all have giants in our lives. We have massive challenges in front of us, whether it's as a parent, as a rabbi, as a cantor, as a physician, as a brother, as a sister, as a son, as a daughter, as a husband, as a wife. We all have massive challenges in our personal lives. And we all know as a society, we're facing what, at least in my life, are unprecedented challenges, both from a social upheaval and redistribution of power perspective, and a global health perspective. And we can either be paralyzed by this, we can be frozen in paralysis because of these enormous challenges we face, or we can go at them nickels, dimes, and quarters. Every day, every week, every month, every year. Just keep chipping away at the giant challenges in front of us. It is the only way. It has always been the only way. I haven't thought about Sylvia in many, many years, but I thought about her preparing for this morning, because I think that she's such a good example of being fearless in the face of a challenge and of just going at it a little bit each time. Another way to think about this, if you've ever been in a room that is completely, totally pitch black, absolutely black, you realize what an enormous difference the tiniest bit of light can make. The tiniest crack in a door, a single candle, the watch, the light from your watch, the tiniest light pierces complete and total darkness and turns it into something much less frightening. We can each be that light, that no matter how small the contribution, how tiny the step, how limited our leverage or platform, we can all be even just a tiny point of light in a black space, in a dark space, and make it so much less frightening. And to slay these giant challenges in front of us, one human being and one step at a time. One step at a time is a cliche. Cliches become cliches because they're mostly true. So it's my hope and my prayer that we remember Sylvia today, and that we commit ourselves to being more like Joshua and Caleb and less like the other 10 spies. And that we try to bring our own tiny fragment of light into the darkness. Because that's what it means to be a blessing. That's what it means to be a light unto the nations. That's what it means to be a humane human being. And that's what it really means to be an optimist. It means to move forward. Many of you know kadima is my favorite Hebrew word. It means forward. And that's the direction we as Jews and as human beings should be moving, no matter how small the step. And that's my hope, and that's my prayer for all of us this Shabbos. Shabbat shalom, everyone. Okay. I feel like we should have a piece of music ready for that, but yeah, it is amazing how just the tiniest bit of light, if you're really surrounded in utter total darkness, you know, what an enormous difference it makes. And you know, I think that's where Joshua and Caleb got it right. You know. Okay, let's bring a little light to people who are suffering, by the way. There are lots of forms of light, many of them metaphorical, and prayer is one of them. Praying for people who are in their own kind of darkness because they're ill, suffering at home or in the hospital. And we know that many people who are ill are now suffering alone in ways that they would not have had to suffer alone if not for this terrible, terrible COVID-19 pandemic. You know, my dad lived 10 years in a nursing home. I'm thinking a lot about him, obviously, because it's Father's Day tomorrow. And a part of me has gratefully died before this, honestly, because I couldn't imagine him suffering with Alzheimer's alone in that nursing home without our family there by his side every day to be his North Star. So there are many, many people suffering in ways far darker than before. And we think of them now. I'm going to give everyone a moment to pause and to think of people you know who are ill, who are suffering, and who need our prayers. And then we're going to begin with singing the Mishaberach, which Cantor Lisa will lead us in. But let's take a moment now and really call these people to mind and let them know in your heart that your Mishaberach this morning is for them.
Mishaberach Avotenu Mekor HaBracha Leimotenu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Bisher beirach imotenu mekol habracha le'avotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
Now we enter into moments of Kaddish and memory. Again, I want to give everyone the spiritual space right now, particularly to remember our fathers, those of us who have fathers who have died and yet who we know live on within us in so many powerful and beautiful ways. And we call to mind those who've died during the Shloshim this past 30 days, and those whose Yortzeit's the anniversary of whose deaths are commemorated on this Shabbat, and everyone who has fallen in the defense of the United States of America and the state of Israel. The victims of this terrible pandemic and terrible disease and tragedy and unrest and foolish violence everywhere in the world. And we also call to mind everyone who has no one to say Kaddish for them. We take them as our own as well, as we enter now into moments of Kaddish and moments of memory. As we enter into moments of Kaddish now, we call to mind first the names of the loved ones of our congregation who have died during this Shloshim, this past 30 days, followed by the names of those whose Yortzeit's the anniversary of whose deaths were commemorated during this past week. So we begin now with the names of those who have died during this Shloshim. Marilyn Blank, Jeri Fishman, George Floyd, Rochelle Ginsberg, Andy Harris, Ronald Leaf, Elaine Baron Lieberman, Kelly Schiffer, Frank Schiller, Diane Schwartz, Joan Travis, and Jeri Turtle. We add to their names the names of those whose Yortzeits were commemorated during this past week: Charlotte Adler, Mildred Barish, Misha Bellick, Teresa Bensby, Sarah Blakeman, Olga Brewer, Leonard Cohen, Frederick Creamer, Florence Davies, Max Demoff, Minna Ehrenberg, Frederick Fenton, Jack Figlin, Molly Fligelman, Ralph Fomel, Aaron Friedman, Henya Freeberg, Joseph Friedman, Donna Goldstein, George Goldfein, Joe Goldman, Leo Gold, Evelyn Greenbaum, Anita Greenberg, Susan Greenberg, Marcia Jacobs, Lucille Kaplan, Sidney Katz, Joseph Kelrick, Margaret Klein, Stephen Klein, Max Kleiman, Nasir Kahanzadeh, Sylvia Krevin, Albert Cooperstock, Jeanette Lampert, Sam Levin, Lenore Littman, Yale Lurie, Bess Lustig, Paul Mayer, Albert Markinson, Ronald Meltzer, Sheila Grace White Miller, James Miller, Stanley Mosk, Morris Motley, Avraham Munish, Mayer Nagy, Ann Nickel, Victor Noodleman, Jack Alper, Alfred Ordover, Gary Parks, Eric Nass, Albert Pekelny, Gertrude Pollock, Robin Raymond, Isaac Roston, Oscar Reese, Richard Ritter, Sylvia Rodsky, Milton Rosenfield, Sally Rose, Misha Rudin, Martin Schatz, Charlotte Schwarzenberger, Herbert Shapiro, Joel Simon, Elizabeth Sinyeko, Gideon Stein, Lottie Talpas, Benjamin Tarshish, Edward Teller, Florence Tucker, Goldie Tyfield, Alvin Vogel, Beverly Wagner, Frank Webb, and Myrna Weinstein. We add to their names the names of those we do not know, but to whom we are deeply grateful. All of those who have died defending the United States of America and the State of Israel. We also call to mind all of those who've died from senseless tragedy and suffering all over the world, and everyone who has no one to say Kaddish for them. We take them all as our own as we join together now in Kaddish. Page 294 for those of you with Sidurim. We join together in Kaddish. Yitgadal v'yitkadash Shemei Rabbah. Ve'alma divrach hirutei v'yamlich malchutei. V'chayechon u'v'yomechon u'v'chaye dechol Beit Yisrael. V'agalau v'zman kariv v'imaru. Amen. Yehe Shmei Rabbah mevorach leolam o'almei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal Shemei dekutsha brichu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata. Tush v'chata v'nechemata. Da'amiran ba'alma v'imaru. Amen. Yehe shalom rabba min shemaya. V'chaim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imaru. Amen. Oseh shalom bimromav. U'yaseh shalom. Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imaru. Amen.
We conclude our service this morning with a prayer for peace, the words of Oseh Shalom, as we've talked about today, that we all have a lot of work to do, but that we can really put our shoulders into it and can bring the peace that we want to see in this world. Chip away at it, little by little.
Oseh Shalom bimromav, Uyaseh Shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imru amen. Yaseh Shalom, Shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael. 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 Shabbat Shalom, everyone. We're going to
Shabbat
join
Shalom.
together.
Wait, before we do, 1 second before Kiddush, I want to say a special thank you, and I know that Cantor joins me. We want to thank Jessica and Tess
Yes.
for helping to produce this service. There's a lot more going on behind the scenes than you might realize out there. We're very grateful to you, and thank you all for joining us. I hope everybody has a beautiful Shabbat and a beautiful Father's Day tomorrow. And let's do Kiddush, okay?
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. L'chaim.
L'chaim, Shabbat Shalom.
And we have Motzi. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, amotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen. B'te'avon, Shabbat Shalom.
Te'avon.
Happy Father's Day, Rabbi Leader. I
Thank
hope
you.
you get many more toasted rye breads tomorrow.
Thank you. Nice piece of toasted rye bread with butter. That's heaven
There
on
you
earth,
go.
my
That's
friend.
Father's Day right there.
That's it. Heaven on earth. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Have a great day.